Ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you to what used to be called, I can't say it, I'm sorry, word won't come out right. Armistice Day. Used to be Armistice Day. It started at 1100 on the 11th of November. So 11, 11, 11. That's when Germany signed the armistice ending World War I. World War I was a horrible war. We used to call it in the United States, we called it the war to end all wars. It clearly wasn't, because we've had a couple of conflicts since. But we thought of it as really being a terrible war. And it was. Sorry.
Good looking boy.
We got some people coming in. Okay, sorry.
He's still in the range.
Today, we have made Armistice Day, Veterans Day, and that happened at about just shortly after World War II. The Congress changed the name and they changed the date. The veterans of foreign wars did not like that at all, and they petitioned the Congress to change everything back. They were okay with the name change to Veterans Day, but they did not like the date change, because if you remember, the Congress was putting all holidays on a Monday, and that meant that every year it was a different date. We did keep the name Veterans Day, and that was okay with the VFW. It is a pleasure to be here today to do this. You're going to have an interesting speaker, and I am going to now bring the colors forward, and I will ask you all to stand as the colors are presented and to remain standing for the national anthem. Color Guard, present the colors.
March. Present arms.
Rockets the home of the brave.
Order, arms. Palestine, march.
I'm sorry, folks, I did not introduce myself. Many of you know me, but there are some people here that probably do not. I am Rear Admiral Jeffrey Chesbrough. I live here at Goodwin House and happy to be here.
Pledge of allegiance.
Liberty and justice for all. Fred. Here comes Fred. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Yes. Let me get out of your way.
Good morning and happy Veterans Day. I have the honor and privilege of introducing our keynote speaker this morning. He is my very dear friend and trusted colleague, Major General Joe Lynch. You have his bio on the back of the front page and can read about his service to our country both in uniform and as a civilian. What isn't in his bio is that he and his family are givers to those in need, especially to those of us who serve and who have served. When called upon, he and his family made a substantial contribution toward the construction of the Defenders Lodge in Palo Alto, California. The lodge was built to house wounded warriors referred to the Polytrauma Hospital there for outpatient evaluation or care who were unable to afford the high cost of overnight accommodations. Since its opening in 2014, the Defenders Lodge has provided nearly $50 million of free lodging for veterans and their families. Joe and his family helped to make this happen. Please welcome this fine officer and gentleman, my friend Joe Lynch. When you see Joe, think about the other guy. He's not here.
Thank you, Fred. That was a very kind and thoughtful introduction. And as many of you here know, Fred and I have been dear friends for a long time. We served together in the Pentagon for many years, both in the Navy Department and in the Defense Department, and we've been close friends ever since. And one of the bright parts of my life is my friendship with Fred Pang and the people I've met here through Fred Pang. I just want to take a couple of minutes to chat about my observations about service as a veteran and what it means and what motivates people to serve as a veteran. And then I want to wrap up by suggesting to you some things that you can do as citizens of this country to support our veterans and those who have served in the past. I have pretty strong feelings about what it is to serve as a veteran. I served a total of 32 years in the Air Force, and I was very proud of that, and I was honored and privileged to serve. I will tell you that whenever I'm in an airport and somebody comes up to me and they notice that I have a military background, and they say thank you for your service, the first thing I say to them, it was an honor for me to serve and a privilege for me to serve. You don't need to thank me for my service. My country has thanked me many, many times over for my ability and my willingness to serve. Let me give you a little bit of background on how I ended up in the military. I think it may explain a little bit about why I feel the way I do about it. When I was 18 years old, the Vietnam War was going on. Many of you remember that. And as you recall, there was a draft that was in place. And if you were 18 years old, eventually your number was going to come up. You were going to get drafted into the Army, and you were probably going to be sent overseas. Well, at that time, my father was a career Air Force officer. He was a World War II veteran and Korean veteran, and he wasn't particularly impressed with my record in high school. I was kind of the ultimate slacker. In fact, if there had been a magazine back in those days of high school slacker, I would have been on the front cover every January. So he wasn't very impressed with me, and he felt that if I ever got drafted into the Army, my chances of survival in Vietnam were very, very slim. In fact, he once said, I'm not even worried about you making it through an entire combat tour. You're not going to make it through the first week. And his solution for that wasn't to send me off to Canada or to have some doctor create some type of medical condition that would disqualify me. His solution to that was, you're going to have to be trained to be a professional military officer. So when you go in the military, you know what the hell you're doing. And he figured out the way to do that would be to send me to VMI. I remember the night when he told me that. He called me into to his bedroom after dinner and said, we need to talk about where you're going to college. And I said, great. And he said, you can go to college anywhere you want to go. We lived in Florida at the time. He said, you can go to the University of Florida, you can go to Florida State, you can go to Miami, you can go to the University of Georgia, South Carolina, these great, great schools, Alabama. You can, these are just wonderful places that you can go. So I was thinking about all these great opportunities that were going to be laying before me. And then he said, but I'm only going to pay for VMI. So I got shipped off to VMI. I did my 4 years at VMI. I graduated, was commissioned in the Air Force on my graduation. The Air Force decided that they wanted me to go to law school, so they shipped me off to law school. They didn't pay for it, but at least I was able to get my law degree. And then on July 1st, 1972, I entered active duty as an Air Force lawyer. And so my journey into the service wasn't something I had very much control over or a lot I could do about. My father pretty much decided what's going to happen there, and that's what took place. But where I had more control was how long I was going to stay in. And back in those days, I had a 6-year service obligation to serve on active duty in the Air Force. And during the time after I graduated from VMI until I graduated from law school, 4 of my VMI classmates were killed in action in Vietnam. And I felt that because of their sacrifice for the country, I had a sacred obligation to fulfill my obligation of committed service to the United States Air Force. So I decided I'm going to do it, and I stayed for initially 6 years. And then after my 6 years were up, I came to realize that it's a great honor to serve your country as a military officer. It's a great privilege to be able to do that. And it's enormously rewarding. You're contributing to the national defense of the country. You're doing things that help not only your family, but your children's children and future generations, and you're strengthening our country as a whole. You come home every night and you feel good about what you did. I've had jobs where I've been out making a lot of money for venture capitalists, and the money was good, but it wasn't very rewarding. What I did when I served on active duty, and then later when I served for the Navy Department, was enormously rewarding, and it certainly kept me in that business for, at least in the Air Force, for 32 years, for many other years with the Navy Department, and then subsequently, after I retired from the Navy Department, I served for 15 years as the General Counsel of the Military Officers Association of America, and that allowed me to go on Capitol Hill and to advocate for our veterans and their families and military personnel overall. And we were able to do a lot in Capitol Hill during the time that I was with MOA, and it was a great organization to be associated with. Well, the idea here is not, of course, for me to bore you to death with everything about my background. My background isn't all that important when it comes to talking about veteran service. What is really important is the men and women who have served this country over many, many years. And you can go back over many generations and going back to my parents' generation, which I can easily relate to, they were veterans in World War II. And as you know, World War II, they attacked the beaches at D-Day in Normandy. Subsequently, they went through Germany, Belgium, France, Italy, and secured those parts of Europe from Nazi control. Subsequently, then, we've had service members serve in Vietnam, in the jungles of Vietnam, and more recently, we've had our service members, our youngest veterans, serve both in the deserts of Iraq and the mountains of Afghanistan. And they've all served with distinction. They've all served selflessly. They've all been willing to give everything that they had to give, like my 4 classmates from VMI did. And so that's something that just really always resonates with me and always motivates me when I think about what we need to do to take care of veterans. So what is my message to you today about what we should be doing and thinking about Veterans Day? Well, I think the most important message is we shouldn't look at Veterans Day as just one day in November each year when we stop and think about veterans. We need to think about veterans and their contributions to our country, to our way of life, and to who we are every single day of the year. And we need to ask ourselves, is our country fulfilling its obligations to our veterans the way it said it would? You know, for many of our veterans, they came into the service and the government promised them an education. It promised them health care if they were injured while serving their country. If they were disabled, they were promised a veteran's pension to make up for that disability. But you know, and anybody who's read the Wall Street Journal or read the Washington Post knows that when budgets get tight, the first thing that gets cut is veterans' benefits. Just to give you one example, when I was with the Military Officers Association back in 2014, the budget was very, very tight, and the Congress, a bipartisan group of congressmen, leaders of both houses of Congress, got together and cut a deal to save the government money. And the deal was to save the government money, they were going to reduce the increase, the annual COLA increase in military personnel's pensions by 0.5% every year. Nobody else in the government, federal civil service workers, they weren't being cut. Social Security recipients, like most of us, we weren't being cut. But the military was singled out for that cut. And I would say the Military Officers Association, we got together with a number of other really effective veterans organizations, and we lobbied Capitol Hill. They had passed the bill. It had passed. But we were able to get them to repeal it. And it was repealed, and it never actually took effect. Just to give you an impact of what would that happen, you know, let's take a retired lieutenant colonel. Over the course of his lifetime, that would cost him $130,000. Take a retired master sergeant. It cost them $85,000 over the course of their lifetime, just taking that 0.5% away. And the Congress did it without even thinking about it. We're not even thinking about the value and what their veterans had contributed to the United States. It was a money decision, and that's how they made it. And I mention that to you because I want you to be alert to decisions like that. When you read the Wall Street Journal, when you read the Washington Post and the New York Times, and you keep up with current events, and you look at what's happening on the Hill, always ask yourself, what are they doing with veterans' benefits? What are they doing with what benefits have earned, the veterans have earned through their service? Are they maintaining their promises? Are they delivering on what they agreed to do? And I think we all have an obligation. If we're going to have successful military service in the future, we have to make sure we take care of the veterans who've served us in the past. And I think that's really, really important that we need to do that. So I would say that's my message to you. It's not just keep them in mind, keep them in the forefront of your mind, but also when it's appropriate, take action. Step in and step up for your veterans. They took action to support all of us, and I think we can do the same to support all of them. So with that, I just want to give you that message and hope it resonates with you. And I hope you found this brief talk that I gave today valuable and informative. And I want to thank you for the courtesy of listening to me and inviting me here to speak. And I want to thank you all for your service. And may God bless all of you, our veterans in the United States. Thank you.
Thank you, buddy. And as a postscript, Joe just applied to become a resident of Goodwin House. And we hope to see you around in the very near future. Yeah?
Hope to be here.
Take care. Peter?
The National Symphony Orchestra and Military Chorus will now perform the Armed Forces Medley.
Whether here or watching at home, if you are able, please stand when your service song is presented. The United States Coast Guard.
Thank you all for coming. And to continue the celebration, please pick up a lunch in the living room, and you can bring it back here, stay in the living room, or even bring it to your apartment and watch on channel 973 a slideshow of all the veterans who live at Goodwin House. And we will also have accompaniment from Jane, who will continue with more patriotic music. So please come and eat. Thank you. And now, Frank Ward will give us our parting.
Would you bow your heads, please? Oh God, we thank you for the faculty of mind and spirit that allows us to look back and remember, to become members again, with those veterans holding a place in our hearts. We thank you for their sense of duty, discipline, and devotion that defines their place in our recollections and in the history of this land. We thank you, too, for an awareness of the blessings that surround us, those of family and community and nation, that have made possible, but that are made possible by the sacrifices of many and the daunting labor of so many more. Help us to live lives of deepening gratitude for all we have that is made possible by others. And Lord God, we thank you for the gift of hope that encourages us to envision and work to make real a world that no longer needs to make veterans at all, but lives in the harmony for which we were created. Bless us as we enjoy that harmony in the meal we share. Help us to be good stewards of the strength it gives us. Amen.